In a matter of minutes, parts of Toronto became unrecognizable, hidden by a downpour that suddenly engulfed the streets.
Oh my God!
I saw water coming out of, I'm assuming it was a manhole, I'm not sure. And just like a mushroom cloud, if you will, and black water just spewing out.
Underpasses throughout the city quickly filled, stranding drivers.
I mean, we're used to it in England, but this is even more than England, so it's pretty crazy.
The Don Valley Parkway, a key highway running into the downtown core, overrun with water. Toronto Fire forced to rescue more than a dozen people who became trapped in their cars.
This is another extreme weather event. The fortunate and unfortunate thing is this is not the first time this has happened.
With a powerful storm expected and several roads in Toronto prone to flooding, officials were asked why key roadways weren't closed earlier.
We knew that the rain was going to come. Certainly the volumes of rain were beyond what was predicted.
Just outside of the city in Mississauga, police resorting to using boats to search through cars and rescue those who were trapped, including residents of this nursing home. The deluge also quickly paralyzed transit across the Greater Toronto area. Commuter trains were cancelled or severely delayed, parts of the subway shut down. Union Station, Canada's busiest transit hub, looked like a waterfall.
I think it speaks to a bigger problem, though, with the failing infrastructure. You can't just blame climate change. Like, we have to be agile as a city.
Officials also received hundreds of calls about flooded basements. All experts say the result of a perfect storm, capping nearly a week of heavy rainfall.
Those rainfall rates were 50 millimeters per hour. That's almost a month's worth of rain.
Jamie, you're at the site of that highway closure. Can you give us a sense of how things are looking tonight?
Well, it's weird. You're standing over the Don Valley Parkway, one of the busiest roadways in the city, and it's eerily empty. And you look out and you can see just how quickly and easily this all could have happened. The Don River, of course, runs right next to this busy roadway. It's running very quickly still and quite high. And down on the highway right now, you see a couple of emergency vehicles and a lot of debris on the road. And that's what's going to keep it closed for the next number of hours until they get that debris off the road. And off in the distance, still a number of cars that were caught up in that quickly moving water earlier today. They'll, of course, have to be removed before the busy morning rush tomorrow morning. Adrian?
Indeed. All right, Jamie Strachan in Toronto. Now, between the flooding and the power outages, so many people felt the storm's impact. Joanna Remiliotis went to one of the hardest hit areas just to see how people are coping.
Late in the day, hydro crews were still out, still working to restore power after about 170,000 people were left in the dark.
We had like water coming out from here.
No electricity and torrential rain meant Ravneet Johar had to shut down his restaurant, while staff mopped up the mess using their phones for light.
So it was about like two people just like constantly mopping the floor, taking the water out, taking the dirt out.
On this one downtown street, store after store shut down early.
So just down here is our grooming salon.
Those who opened up again, like this pet store, had fans used for grooming on full blast to dry out a flooded basement.
The dryers are just working hard down here, helping to really get the moisture that was underneath the crates.
Neighborhoods hit hard by the outages also had to deal with water that wasn't draining away fast enough. We met Andy James on his way to buy a mop.
And I'm going to just keep on mopping it until I clean my basement and the two basements of the people around me.
The flood. There was a flood in the basement.
Yeah, the flood in the basement.
In a classroom too.
Over pizza on high ground, these kids say their summer camp got flooded too.
Were you guys worried?
Kind of.
Yeah.
I wasn't worried.
As for Johar, the power came back in time before all the food had to be thrown out.
Because of that condensation, there was like water. This itself must have, products worth like $2,000 at least. This is our main pillar. Thankfully, this is safe, so I'm very, it's a relief.
On a bad day for business, he'll take that as a win. Joanna Remiliotis, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, someone else coping with a flooded home? Rapper Drake. The singer's official account posted this video of brown, murky water apparently flooding his Toronto mansion. And yes, that's Drake himself trudging through the mess with a broom in hand. The caption, "That better be espresso martini." And no, it is definitely not. Let's bring in CBC News meteorologist Ryan Snodden. Ryan, a lot of rain fell today. Can you walk us through exactly what happened?
More than a month's worth of rain fell in just a few hours. And we look back at the radar, Adrian, and again, it's not just one storm, but a train of storms tracking from west to east right over the city, especially in the 10 and 11 a.m. time frame, 30 to 40 millimeters an hour falling at this time. By the time we were done at lunchtime, a widespread 60 to 100 millimeters in just 4 hours. Infrastructure cannot keep up, especially in an urban center. Officially 98 millimeters at the airport at Toronto Pearson. So that makes this the wettest single day in the city since July 2013. 126 millimeters of rain fell on that day. Another series of storms tracking through there. And for historical purposes, the average July, just 77 millimeters in the city. Adrienne.
All right, Ryan Snodden, thank you. Toronto is just the latest city to be hit by sudden severe weather. And as Susan Ormiston explains, climate scientists are warning more is coming.
We shouldn't be surprised. Climate scientists have been warning of more intense weather more frequently, that turning up the heat in the atmosphere can spell disaster.
If you imagine a bubble of air, it can only hold so much water, and the amount of water it can hold is dependent upon its temperature. As the temperature goes up, the amount of water that air bubble can hold goes up. And as it carries more water, it also preferentially has to rain that water out.
Toronto isn't unique, it's the latest. Severe storms swept through the Chicago area Monday, canceling flights at O'Hare, damaging homes.
The wind was so bad, it got scary.
Iowa got lashed by sudden storms tearing off roofs. This Toronto scene is becoming a familiar landscape.
The climate change is real. We're seeing the impact of it. These kind of severe storm is going to increase, so it's very important that we look at mitigating these kind of effect.
That will take time, cost billions, and force hard choices.
And we're removing things such as natural infrastructure, wetlands, grasslands, and forested areas. And these natural spaces, they actually act like sponges. So we're getting rid of so much of this and replacing it with cement.